Hey guys, we're back out in the garage. Just a short clip today, running through the things we're going to try to get worked up and tied up before testing. We got about 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks until the test day itself. But literally just 3 or 4 weeks, and this thing's going to need to be done so we can get it out on the track. These are the things that we got going just yet that are going to have to be addressed. Radiator, air intake, all that stuff's done. It's relatively stiff as well. I didn't even put any more bracketing on. Just putting the hoses on kind of stiffened it up. This here is just to simulate 110 overall inches from the tip of the car. 110 inches back is the legal limit. You can see we've got a lot of room to play around with the back of the car. We used to have a tailpiece mold. But we got rid of it when we moved out of the old house. We got rid of it. So I was talking about bringing back the quarter panels, and we'll show you that in some old photos. But I'll use a side panel. I'll make a new side panel and then cut it in half and use half on each side, and then we'll box it all in across the rear, and we'll tidy it up. It'll look cool, and it'll give us a little bit more canvas to paint our artistic, rendition on. We're also working on some fuel tank. We got to get a fuel tank on this thing to get the testing. We would probably just use a single plastic tank. Just talked to our buddy Mike that gave us this one. Special little fittings that he claims they don't leak. I don't see any remnants of a leak in here. But anytime you buy these old Margay tanks, guys will try to put a fitting in to fit their cart or something, or their setup, and they'll epoxy it in, and the epoxy immediately cracks and lets loose. It's probably propylene or something. Nothing sticks to it. And they'll leak like crazy, and it makes a mess. Now, we know this one, when you saw the video where the tank failed, we're not going to fix it, but I'll probably take measurements and maybe even make it a little taller, and we'll call Metal Mart here in town and get some 3003 aluminum in 125 thou, and maybe bend up a new tank to go racing with, because we're going to need more capacity than one of those plastic tanks. And we may end up using 2 plastic tanks if we know those fittings won't leak. They're very convenient, easy to mount, to plumb together. The only question I have is the venting. Those fuel caps don't vent very well, and I'll be literally pumping the gas out of one of the tanks. So it's definitely got to have atmosphere, and we may have to put that on ourselves. So the only other thing we got going is front wheels. With the big monster Kelgate brakes that we've got, even with the brakes we're going to put on this car, we have the same issue. We need a 1 5/8" backspace on our wheel so the tire will clear the brake caliper. And they used to make it in a 5-inch. Let me show you the back spacing on here. This is the front side. This is the back side. You see how shallow that is? We can't get a 5-inch bead, 550 wide tire anymore. Dunlop doesn't sell tires in America anymore. Now that Russell's out of business. So we have to go to 6-inch because the 450 just isn't enough tire. We've experimented with 450s. This car is too heavy, too fast, and it makes a lot of heat with the brakes, which transfers right through the hub and the wheel and everything. So 450 won't make it in 5-inch. So we got to go 6-inch. Do they have a 6-inch wheel with an 1 5/8" backspace? They sure do, but it's only 3 1/8 of an inch wide. So to have them take a wheel half that they already spin and make and just add it to, say, a 4 or 5-inch wide front side, so we could use a 6-inch tire that is actually going to work on our cart. The Douglas wheel called that a custom application, and I have to buy 24 wheels for them to make me a wheel like that. That's out of the question. We're not going to buy 24. We're not going to spend $2,000 on wheels just so we can go racing 2 or 3 times a year. So we got to come up with something else. I think what we may end up doing is buying 4 wheels, 2 at the back space we need, and 2 at the front space we need, and then literally have them weld machined off, separate them into 2 pieces again, and then use them as 2-piece wheels. and it's back to silicone and O-rings. And I don't like that idea because back in the day when everybody used two-piece wheels, they always leaked air. At the speeds these things go, and even it doesn't need to be the fastest of its classification. Anything over 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, you don't want your tires going flat at that speed, let alone at 130 or 140. So it's the reason we haven't bought anything yet is because we haven't really made up our mind what we want to do. So that's where we're at. We got to get a front wheel that'll accept a tire that we can use. We need to get some fuel capacity on this thing. 1, to go testing. 2, for surely to be able to go racing. And then we're going to add some body work to the back of the car, cover the radiator, all that, because I'm sure this is going to do what we need it to do. And we may end up keeping this whole setup and then next winter taking the 2 radiators off and going with a 1 radiator setup. And you never know. If this works out like I think it's going to, we'll get with our buddy Rick in Toledo. He'll come up and bend us up aluminum tubing to go from the motor to the radiator to the back. And we'll put a bunch of aluminum in there, get rid of all that rubber hose, and we may just leave it. Who knows? But we need to figure it out here before we start putting stuff on here. We don't want to botch this go-kart all up, making the same mistakes we've made in the past over here, because we know we're going to put the same motor on it. So that's it. That's it from RPM. The weather's breaking, folks. It's Tuesday. Today it's 42, 45 out there in Roseville today. Supposed to be around 60, 62 degrees on Thursday. Rain, but warm. So that's it. We'll be seeing more of you soon. God bless y'all. Godspeed. How about that, Vortex?